Welcome to Friendeavor, the podcast, the weekly podcast where we explore the highs and lows of friendship with your hosts, Danielle and Kayla.
As we journey through life, our friendships often evolve and change, ebb and flow, and sometimes even come to an end. Danielle and I are lifelong advocates for the power of friendship, and we are here to guide all of us through the many challenges and joys that come with building and maintaining strong, meaningful connections with those around us.
Join us each week as we deep dive into the intricacies of friendship, from navigating conflicts to fostering new relationships and everything in between. With insightful interviews, personal anecdotes, and expert advice, Friendeavor is the perfect podcast for anyone looking to strengthen their bonds with the people they love.
So, whether you are on the go, taking care of chores, or just settling in, get ready to explore the world of friendship on Friendeavor, the podcast.
Hi, Kayla.
Hi, long time no see.
I know, it's been a few weeks. We are back in the studio, quote unquote studio, our makeshift studio for now, recording episode 7. We are already to episode 7 of the podcast.
I can't believe it's been 7 weeks.
I know. It's been incredible. I love everything that we've done so far. I particularly enjoyed last week's episode where we got to sit down with our very special guest, and we like to thank her again, Carissa King, for coming on the podcast and talking to us about spouses and marriage and how we, balance friendship with our spouse and how we need friends. We can't just put all of our relationship goals into one person. We need a nice balance for everything there.
That episode was super insightful. And although I've had that conversation with her before, there were a lot more nuggets in this episode I think she shared. So if you haven't listened to that, it's episode number 6, why your spouse can't be your only friend.
I feel like she just saves all of her good stuff for the podcast, and then our personal conversations, she just experiments. She just tries out new things on us.
Oh my goodness.
It works, right? Okay. But anyways, we like to thank her again for coming on the podcast and helping us out. We're really glad to be able to do that. Anyways, we are so glad to have you back here for episode 7. And episode 7, we are talking about how friends, they come in all ages, and that there is a benefit to having older friends.
Yes, absolutely. I'm really excited for this episode because I have a lot of friends of different ages because my husband is 10 years older than me. So we kind of share friends there. And then he has become friends with my friends who are like early 20s. So I'm excited for this.
And we'll get into this a little bit later. I don't want to jump ahead, but you and I both have the unique opportunity, you more so, of having older siblings who automatically have friends their age that you just are in contact with. But like I said, we will get into that in the future of this episode, which is just minutes away, but I don't want to jump ahead right now. So let's talk about benefits. Why would there be a benefit in your mind to having an older friend? Like, what's some stuff that comes to mind for you?
I think there are lots of benefits to having older friends. I think one of the main ones would be life experience. So I know with having older siblings, it's like, bro, I've been there, done that. You don't want to go down that road.
Yeah.
And also, hey, I kind of regret not doing this. You should try it out and see how it goes.
Yeah.
They kind of try to live vicariously through you sometimes. So that's fun.
Yeah. It's interesting. So let's talk about siblings really quick. So my older brother and I are 3.5 years apart. And actually my younger sister is 3.5 years apart from me too. So we don't have these massive gaps in our age, but it's like just enough that each of us were on the cusp of something when the other one was getting into it. So like, Brett was 15 when I was 12. So whatever he learned in his early teenage years, I kind of picked up on it because I was a bystander to it. I wasn't so much involved, but I saw it, how it was handled or what he tried or that kind of thing. So even if you don't have like the classic, oh, my big sister who's going off to college when I'm in 5th grade or whatever, you could still learn from the people who came before you. And I know we've pivoted to siblings already, but they can be your older friends too.
Oh yes, for sure.
I did an episode, actually, I think it was the week before you got married. I can't remember. It's called Siblings Are Your First Friends. And it really just took me back about how growing up together and just all the shenanigans you get into and that kind of thing. And so even if you feel like you don't have a lot of friends, I would look back on your relationship with your siblings and see the strength and the bond that's there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And you may think because of age gap or because of life circumstances, oh, well, I'm not really close to my siblings, but you have shared experiences that you don't share with
Mm-hmm.
anyone else.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, think about that. Reflect
And
on that.
let's just go straight off on a rabbit trail here. We're not even to our first benefit yet of having older friends, and we're already on a rabbit trail. But if you don't have that relationship with your siblings like you desire, that you truly want, or that you see other people having, what steps can you take right now to strengthen that bond? Because it's not too late.
Yeah.
It is not too late until you guys are dead and gone. Like that's when it's too late. So up until, your time on earth is done, you have opportunities to either strengthen the bonds or recreate what you lost in a previous like season of life.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so let's actually get into our benefits, and I'm sure we'll be talking about our siblings more, because it's just a natural byproduct of having older friends, and sometimes you meet them through your older siblings. But obviously, we're not just talking about older friends as in like 4, 5, 6 years older than you. We're talking about like decades older people, befriending them, learning from them, showing them kindness, showing them compassion, showing them care. And this is not like a quid pro quo kind of friendship. It's not, I give you kindness, compassion, and care, and you give me wisdom and life experience as a exchange. It's still a friendship. It's still a relationship, and that you both are happen to have these things that you're contributing, but it's not a I scratch your back, you scratch my back kind of thing.
Right.
Uh, you got your older friends that they've accumulated like more life experience and wisdom which they can share with you. So this is a
Yeah.
benefit. We're into the benefits now. They offer that invaluable advice that you can't find without going to the school of hard knocks on like every aspect of life. There's like no, I think it was Solomon who said there's nothing new under the sun, or maybe it was Job, I
Mm.
can't remember. But either way, they have more than likely seen whatever you're going through and can be the wisdom that they didn't have in their time of experiences thing. Whatever they learned, they can pass on to you and can help you avoid some difficult situations.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And even if they don't verbally give you advice, you can look at their life and be like, okay, this is the choice they made,
Yeah,
and I see where that
absolutely.
got them. Yeah.
Look at the fruit.
And
Look at the
not in
fruit that
a,
they bore.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, you don't have to do it in a judgmental, negative way, but just as a teaching point.
Mm-hmm.
Like I see the fruit of this, and
Yeah.
that's so I'm gonna make different choices.
Mm-hmm. Some of these benefits, they might seem like they're the same thing, just regurgitated, but if you actually break them down, which I hope that we will end up doing in this episode, you'll kind of understand that wisdom and life experience are two different things. You kind of lump them together, but someone can be wise but have just sat and watched other people's choices and like gleaned wisdom from them. Other people life experience is because they truly walked the path and took the beatings and all that kind of thing. And then of course you've got people who have the both the wisdom and life experience. So having an older friend, befriending an older person can absolutely help you navigate those life things, and actually taking them on as a mentor. A lot of people think of like taking someone on as a mentee, but you are choosing to let this person speak into your life if you take them
Right.
on as a mentor, a
Mm-hmm.
business person, someone who is in your career path, someone who has a lot of years of teaching, just to guide you in personal and professional development. One person who's a mentor in your spiritual life does not have to be your mentor in your business life, and vice versa. They can help you
Mm-hmm.
set goals, make better decisions, and just navigate challenges where they have strength.
That is such a good point. Because oftentimes we look at mentors like, okay, they got to be well rounded and this. And, if they're struggling here, well, then I shouldn't be looking up to them. You do want to surround yourself with um, people who are going to have a good influence on you.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't need to cut someone off as a mentor because there's this area that they're lacking in where they
Yeah,
can really help you in maybe another area.
yeah. There there are people who I would take business advice from any day of the week. But if they started talking to me about love and what I needed to do to find love, I would walk away so fast because it's like
Right.
you've got a lot to offer, and I'm happy to hear you, and I'm thrilled that you're offering this business acumen to me. But I've seen what has happened,
Mm-hmm.
and
Oh yeah, absolutely.
so just be wise. Be wise.
Mm-hmm.
Take vet your mentors and let the appropriate experience guide you. You don't have to feel like you have to hear everything that one person says. Obviously, we are not talking about your spiritual leader, okay? Your pastor, this is not the person we're talking about when we talk about friends come in all ages. Your pastor may be friendly, but ultimately he's the watchman of your soul, and he is
Mm-hmm.
not, he's not going to be your friend before he's your pastor. He should be your pastor
Right.
before he's your friend. So when we talk about all these kind of things, we're not talking about your man of God. We're talking about people, just your people, the people that you
Yeah.
encounter. It could be your friends' parents. It could be other people. It could be
Yeah.
colleagues. It could be teachers, professors, just people who have been in your life or around your life. It is not wrong to befriend older people and just think of all these benefits that you're getting along the way.
Here's another thing that you should expect of older friends in your life. And I say you should expect it because it's not always the case, but you should expect that they will be mature and that they will provide stability for you. Now you're going to run
Absolutely.
in, yes, you're going to run into that person or people that are like late 30s, early 40s, and they're still dramatic and petty. And there are people still like that. They still carry on, they
Hmm.
still carry that into late adulthood. But for the most part, you can rely on your older friends that are, late 30s, 40s, 50s, middle age, to just provide stability for you. They're
Yeah.
not, most of the time, um, they're not going to be petty or dramatic, and they're going to know how to handle conflict because they have that life experience.
I If I can say, I think that they'll not only handle conflict, they will squash conflict before it even comes up. I
Yeah.
think of situations where people have engaged me in conversation about something that they're dealing with. And I'm 27. Okay. So like I would be an older friend to some people, but I'm talking about people who are my age or older who are talking to me about conflict. And I'm like, why do you even find yourself in that situation where that's happening? Like, how is that something that you've allowed yourself to be dragged into? Okay.
Hmm.
So I know some people who are some very good mentors and they handle things very well. I know other people that are not mentors. They don't even consider themselves mentors. They're just friends with these younger people that allow things to happen and they get caught up in it. So,
Yeah.
to tag on to what you said, stability and maturity is not something that you should just like hope for in an older friend. It's something you should look for. And I might
Yeah.
even be making some enemies here, or you might disagree with this, listener, but I would say that if you go to befriend an older person and they do not offer you maturity in that relationship, don't pursue it. Okay. I
Right.
am not a very like black and white person when it comes to friendship. I'm very gray because not every situation is the same thing. This is as close as I'm going to get to yes or no, um, because there's no benefit there.
No, and they'll likely not grow out of it. If
Not
they're
if they
older and they're
haven't at
acting
this
like
point.
that, then yeah.
Yeah, if they haven't at this point. And that's not to say that they can't, like, here I am, going back to that gray area, because again, not every situation, but if you find yourself in drama with a 45-year-old person and you're 20
Mm.
and the other people in this drama are teenagers or 20s, like, I mean, come on. That
Nope.
should not be it. So when you look
Yeah,
for it, look for that stability, look for that
there
firm
you go.
foundation. Before we go into like some other benefits, I want to talk about how older friends appear on your friendship pyramid, because our pyramid here at Friendeavor is very much like there's not a lot of gray area because it is tiered. Okay, so anything that you're going to split into categories automatically is like assigned a label. Okay, I would say that most of your older friends are going to fall into that friend category. Okay. Because if you think about it, if you think about what it means to have a spot on the friendship pyramid, the different tiers fluctuate between time spent with the people and desire to spend that time. Okay. If you
Right.
spend a lot of time with somebody, but you don't want to be there, that doesn't mean that they're necessarily in your top two tiers just because you spend a lot of time. So you might have
Yeah.
a lot of time you spend, but you don't want to be there. There might be you want to be there, but there's not a lot of time. And so therefore the distance has made you guys grow separate. Okay. You spend a lot of time together. You have desire to be with those people. That's where you're going to find the higher levels. Okay. You might have a lot of desire to be with your older friends and to hang out and to spend time with them. Guess what? Their situations and their life demands are not going to allow for a late night hangout at your house talking about goals and dreams at 2 a.m. because they are an older friend and they got different responsibilities. Okay. So therefore your
Mhm.
desire is higher, but the time allowance is not. And if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or something, I would jump over to YouTube at this point after you get done and see my hands go up and down like crazy because it's kind of giving you a visual effect. Maybe I can put together a graphic that we can put in the show notes. But
Yeah.
um, just because an older friend is on the friend tier does not mean that they are not important to you. I guess is what I'm getting at for all of that.
Yeah.
All right, Kayla, I'm going to talk about one of these benefits that you will see is probably helpful to you. And you could tell us a little bit about your job and how this works for you. Uh, benefit of having an older friend, friends should be in all ages. You have an expanded network. Older friends,
Yeah.
they often have a wider social and professional network, which can be, like I said, beneficial. Introduce you to people
Oh
who be
yeah,
helpful in your
absolutely.
careers and help you get to where you want to go. So, what has your experience been with that?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I work for my older sister, Krissa, doing a married couple. And and around the same time she hired me, she also hired Pastor Evan and Ashley Grizzle from the East Coast. And when she first hired them, I knew them from No Limits. They came and sang, but I
Mm-hmm.
had never, went up and talked to them, introduced myself or anything. Um, and when she first hired them, I would call them sister and brother Grizzle. And they started telling me, Kayla, just call us Evan and Ashley. And I mean, some of you, if there are saints listening right now, I sound a little bit weird. But this is just one of those examples. They're like, hey, call us Evan and Ashley. And like, the conversation was just so casual. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, and since then, I have loved having them as mentors and friends
Yeah,
because they, first of all, they're very fun. Like, they're one of the most fun older couples that I know of. They're very fun, but they also provide a lot of insight and, spiritual insight as well, being
yeah.
pastors. And they're both counselors as well. So,
And so you never would have
um,
met them without your older professional contacts putting you in touch.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Evan has also introduced me to his friends who like wanted a logo or wanted a handout. And it's like,
There you
whoa,
go.
like
There you go.
look at these connections.
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
another thing about their first name basis is that this is a different network for them that they're dealing with, right? This is not their church body. You are not their church body, so they can be
Yeah.
in a different thing. So that makes a very good segue into something else that is just a pet peeve of mine. This is just a soapbox. This is not even part of the benefits of having older friends. But we should make a sound sting for that to be like soapbox or something like that. But
Oh my.
so one thing that just kind of gets on my nerves, and I actually talked about this on Friendeavor, the YouTube channel before, but it's been so long ago, I feel like I can bring it up again, is when older people, or not even older people, just people in general who have friends. So, okay, for example, you would not go to Evan and Ashley's church and be like, "Hi, Evan," in front of his saints,
Right.
right? Like that is
Yeah.
not something you would do. We have people who come to our church for events who will call our ministry by their first name to the saints. And I'm like, they're not those names to us. They are Pastor and Sister Young, right? And
Right.
so
Yeah.
just because you are friends with certain people, like you have to recognize the like who you're talking to. And it's not so much respect. It's not like respect for yourself. It's defending the respect of both the saint and the pastor or whatever organization it is. Like,
Right.
the president's best friend will walk up to him and be like, "Hey, Joe," but you walk in there and it's, "Hey, Mr. President," like
Yeah.
it's just different.
Yeah.
You don't whenever I would go to the Blash's church, I'd be like, Dr. Blash, Sister Blash, but they were Dan and Anne Marie for my entire life.
Yeah. It's kind of the same concept as, when I'm talking to my nieces and nephews, I'm not going to be like, hey, go ask Karina this.
Yeah,
Like, my
absolutely.
niece would look at me like, what?
That's
Like,
such a great
go ask
example.
mommy, go ask daddy. Like,
Yeah. Or what do they call Carly? Go ask Auntie Car. You're not gonna be
Auntie
like, go ask
Car.
Carly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ask Kim. No,
Yeah, right.
go ask
They would
Grammy.
probably be like, who's Kim?
Oh, yeah. So it's like that's just a soapbox, and that doesn't even have anything to do for the benefits of having older friends. But here I am
Right.
because I will get that
Rabbit
in
trail.
as often as I can because that bugs me to death. But the benefit, let's circle back to what the benefit is that Kayla has made professional contacts from her older friends who are mentors. Okay, if
Right.
she exclusively worked with her friends or only shared professional goals and stuff like that with her immediate circle, she would not have older contacts and that kind of thing, and have had the developmental opportunities that she's had, plus the business opportunities
Yeah,
with the
absolutely.
other the flyers and the logos and stuff. So absolutely.
Yeah.
Which actually leads us and tags straight into our next benefit, which is support and guidance, because something tells me, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm not wrong, that if you are dealing with a difficult situation in your job, your older contacts will help you navigate that in your job.
Oh, absolutely. One of my jobs is to answer DMs. And some of the DMs I answer, um, I mean, there's a wide variety. There's some fun ones like, hey, I just listened to this podcast. This is great. Thank you. Those are easy to reply to. Some of them are very heavy and detailed, though, because they're counselors and they want to reach out, ask for help. And I have definitely texts both Pastor and Sister Grizzle, and I've been like, hey, can you guys help me like answer this DM? This is, I'm not really sure what
Yeah.
to tell this person. So that's just one example of the kind of work things that you run into. You can definitely look to them for help.
And I can speak to that as a teacher too. So like I have friends who are teachers, obviously, like colleagues who are also friends, but I also have friends who are teachers that are not my colleagues. So like for example, Kayla's older sister Karina is a principal, a teacher and a principal, and she's not that much older than me. She's my brother's age actually. And so she's not been a teacher that much longer, but you know what? I would be an idiot to not listen to what she has to say when she's got advice for me, because it doesn't matter if they've been doing it for a year longer or 20 years longer, they have something that could help you learn. So if you've got a friend who can help you and guide you, don't just shut them off because of you don't recognize their skill set for what it is. Support and
Right.
guidance
And
is a benefit.
yeah, they'll have perspectives that you might not be expecting either. You go to Karina for teacher advice, but she's also got the admin perspective and the parent perspective.
Yeah.
So she's got all the perspectives to share.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that you brought up perspective, because also, and I can absolutely speak for myself in this, I will encounter conflict or a situation, not drama, just regular life conflict that seems so in this moment right here. Okay. It doesn't go beyond, it didn't start before, it's right now, but it's everything right now, you know?
Oh
And
yeah, it's a big deal.
having an older person in your life, an older friend, not necessarily a parent, because people don't often listen to their parents as much as they should. I can speak to that myself.
Yeah.
But having an older friend who will talk to you like you need to be talked to, even if you might not like it, it will give you the perspective to see that, hey, this moment right here in time, this chunk of time that this conflict is not the end. There is so
Mm-hmm.
much more life after this. And a lot of it's not like earth shaking stuff. It just seems like there's no end to it in sight. But having a friend, an older friend whether again that is 3 years older, 5, 10, 20, 50 years older, will give you the perspective of the length of life, and that there is a bigger picture and you need to prioritize where this chunk of conflict falls in the grand scheme of your life. This next benefit to having older friends is really good for our younger listeners. Older friends can help you reduce peer pressure. Not
Yeah.
only are they going to not put pressure on you like people your own age, but they will also take away situations, or at least hopefully mitigate situations in which you would be exposed to or would succumb to peer pressure from other people.
Yeah.
Kayla, you work with young people sometimes, in like the coffee shop or in the media, and just
Mhm.
you're in the around the youth group a lot. Anyways, do you see a benefit to having older friends for this, for navigating peer pressure?
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think about how we talked about how older friends can help you navigate uh instances of immaturity. If you do end up connecting and becoming friends with people who are older and are immature, you will find this benefit a complete opposite. You will be subject to more peer pressure from those older people because it's like they almost have a pawn to play with, right? Like to
Yeah.
dare you to do stupid stuff and that kind of thing. So the one of like the maturity and the stability goes hand in hand with the reduced peer pressure, because if you do end up
So
becoming
true.
friends with older people, you could end up having the complete opposite of this benefit in your life.
Oh yeah, exactly. One example I can think of is, and this was years ago now, but I was one of the older friends, but I was still very young myself. We we were the group that went and teepeed and forked people's houses. Like that was us. And I mean, it's harmless. It's really harmless, and we had fun doing it, and it's like a nice surprise. So we usually did it to like boys we thought were cute. So um, but this one year we decided to do it the Thursday night of a conference. So there was still like the whole Friday left of the conference. And it's like that family is not about to go up, clean their whole front yard
Yeah.
during No Limits. So, um, but I was young and dumb. And so we did it anyway. We TP'd their house the Thursday night of No Limits. And then the parents of that friend were actually really upset and text my parents. And then my sister was like, that was so dumb. And I was like, oh, we TV people's houses all the time. And she was like, yeah, but I could, if you would have like texted me or something and asked if it was a good idea, I could have told you it wasn't a good idea. That's like, there are no limits.
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
The worst
It's like,
timing.
right. And it's like, okay, so if I would have had my sister with me who is older, then she could have reduce that kind of peer pressure for me or for the other people in the car. Like,
That's a
let's not
perfect
do that.
example. Yeah. Because it's not all about like life or death things. Sometimes it's just avoiding embarrassment or avoiding conflict that involves other people, in this case your parents and the other people's parents. So it's really, it's not all life or death, but it definitely is part of just avoiding some of those hard knocks that you could otherwise not have to encounter.
Right.
The next one is one that I could speak to. Having older friends can serve as positive role models. So when I was, before we moved to California, like almost all of my friends were older than me. My older brother and I had the same social circle, and so I would hang out with people who were his age or even slightly older. And I know that the decisions they made and how they acted in church and all that kind of stuff really served to set the tone of how I developed into being who I am, because I watched how they lived their lives and it helped me to see how I wanted to live mine. You can have role models of all ages. It doesn't have to be just people who are, in their 40s, 50s, 60s. It can be people who are a few years older than you, but if they're living their life right, guess what? You want to navigate to those people and allow them, again, just back, like, this is basically another way of saying the mentor one and the life experience and the wisdom. But a role model is quite literally someone who you want to pattern your role, ROLE, in life after them. uh a mentor, you might not necessarily want to do exactly what they do or be exactly what they were, but a role model helps you quite literally pattern your life after the model that they've set
Mm,
before you.
Oh, that's good. We're gonna do a post on that. That's good.
I'm happy providing content within the content.
Yes.
And our very last benefit as we wrap up this episode 7 is the benefit of having better interpersonal skills that you can learn from these people.
This is so true, you guys. I see this in my own life over and over and over.
You
Hanging out with my
can,
sister's friends. Yeah.
yeah, you can clearly pick out people who have not had the benefit of learning how to communicate and navigate situations from other people and are trying to figure out on their own. I feel bad for them, but and you'll work with them, you'll see them at church. If you go to school, you'll see them in school. You can pick out the kids who don't have older siblings, or you could pick out the kids who don't have
Mm-hmm.
solid parents at home, because interacting with older friends will help you develop those skills, help you speak at a different level, a higher level, understand broader concepts, and relate to individuals of different life experiences and perspectives. So having older friends in your life will help you become a more well-rounded individual that can only help to serve you in literally every other aspect of your life.
Yes, for sure. I think that goes back to the whole sibling thing too. My parents had kind of two sets of kids. So they had my two older sisters, and then they waited 7 years and had the three of us, me, Carly, Kyle. And Carly would always talk about, because when by the time she was a teenager, both of my older sisters were out of the house. So Carly kind of had to learn some things on her own. And then she kind of taught me how to not be socially awkward or what to do in these kind of social situations. And you can definitely tell when someone has an older sibling that kind of guides them.
That reminds me of, I think it's called the family theory. I learned it in a psych class or whatever, but even if that's not the name, I can explain the concept to you. Basically, I think it's called the family theory. I can't remember, but it's about birth order. So the oldest child is going to just have certain characteristics about leadership and that kind of thing. And then basically every child fits into some sort of psychological like profile of birth order. However, if there is a 5-year gap between a child and a second child, or a fifth child and a sixth child, anytime that there is a 5-year gap between siblings, this cycle restarts. 5 or more.
Okay. We have said that, not in those kind of scientific terms, but we said that how Carly's basically the oldest child
Yeah,
of our group,
that
but
is.
she takes on the youngest sibling role when it's her, Chris and Karina.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
real
and she's
thing.
kind of a middle child too.
And it's very stereotypical. So like obviously it's not going to fit with every, not every middle child is going to be the peacekeeper or class clown or whatever, but
Yeah.
primarily you will be, because that's the theory, like that's how nature itself
Mm-hmm.
works. So you've got your oldest sister as the older sister. However, your second sister is born who has middle child tendencies, even though your next sibling has older child tendencies because of that age gap. So
Wow.
when you have siblings of different ages, you're going to see those kind of characteristics come out. But all in all, you are still going to get interpersonal skill development from every older person you talk to. And I did a video one time called Socializing. Actually, I can't remember what it was called, but basically it was about socializing is a skill. It's like any other skill. You have to practice to be good at it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you just so happen to get that practice and at your home with having that many siblings. And then you'll get it out in the world too as you develop and become a professional and whatever that ends up being for you. Well, that was our episode 7. Friends come in all ages. We were talked about the benefits of having older friends. Thank you so much for stopping by this week. I can't believe we're already on episode 7. Right around the corner is going to be episode 10. Next week we are talking about types of quality time, what kind of time you spend with your friends. What does that mean? Because quality time for one person might not be the same for another. So we're going to deep dive into that, and I am looking forward to that. So signing off, have a great rest of your week, and we will see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Friendeavor the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you enjoyed today's content, leave a review and share with a friend. You can find the show notes on our website, www.friendeavor.net, and in the description of this episode.
Friendship is a journey. It's an endeavor. We'll see you next time on Friendeavor.